Welcome to the Intriguing Beings podcast, Season 2, Episode 14, with Robby Naish. So I've got a bit of a treat for you all this week, and it came about rather short notice, and I never actually intended for it to be a podcast, but we were putting the latest issue of IK Surf Mag together, which will be online by the time you read this. So if you kite surf and you want to check it out, it's free. Just go to www.iksurfmag.com and have a look. Anyway, we'd had a story lined up with Naish Kiteboarding, and it kind of fell through. And there's a throwaway comment with Jenica, who does the marketing now. I was like, oh, maybe we could get an interview with Robby. And getting any time with Robby Naish is quite difficult as he's so busy and he's got a lot on his plate. And she kindly said she would ask him and see what he said. And Robby amazingly emailed me straight back and was like, yep, let's have a chat tomorrow. So I hastily chucked some questions down on a bit of paper and prepared myself, and it's always quite exciting talking to Robby because he's been a hero of mine since I was about 7 years old. So I'm sort of in this situation where I kind of pinch myself that not only have I got Robby Naish's phone number, I'm phoning him up for a chat and a catch up to put some content in the magazine. Something I could never have imagined when I was a 7-year-old windsurfer. Anyway, we talked for about 45 minutes, and he kindly gave me that much of his time. I knew he had a meeting at 10 a.m. and we started chatting at 9:15 his time. So I was kind of trying to get in as much as I could, but at the same time, it was just really nice to hear him chatting away quite openly and honestly about the way the COVID-19 situation has affected himself and the business and how they've been doing. And it's actually quite a positive story, so it's well worth a listen. Anyway, while we were chatting, I thought this conversation is just too good to not turn into a podcast. So I've emailed Robby and asked him if that's okay. He's had a listen and he's checked that he hasn't said anything too outlandish, which I assured him that he hadn't. But it's a really candid and interesting conversation between the two of us. So I really hope you enjoy it. I'm not going to waffle on too much more. I'm just going to get straight into it. As a caveat, I never normally do these over the phone. I really like talking to people face to face because I can control the audio and the inputs and the outputs. And obviously this was literally done through Skype on my laptop, recording it. So apologies if the audio's not as crisp and as clear as it usually is. But I guess for you guys listening in and girls, it's kind of like eavesdropping on a telephone call with Robby Naish, which is probably not a bad way to spend 45 minutes of your time. So without any further chat from me, let's get straight into it. We'll literally start it off as the telephone rings. Enjoy.
Morning, Ru. How you doing?
Hey Robby, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Excellent. Good to hear from you. I haven't spoken to you for a little while. It was Sharifa at the Naish meeting last year, wasn't it? Very different times now.
Yeah, that's what I was just telling to Julia. It's been a while.
How's things been going for you as a business through all this craziness?
Surprisingly, knock on wood, well, I think somehow we had positioned ourselves timing-wise, better than most of our competitors. My plan for the season was to launch earlier than we have been in the past.
Yeah.
And if you get into the details, the nuts and bolts of the business, a lot of our production, is obviously in China, and Chinese New Year is always a factor. And Chinese New Year moves around; it changes year to year.
Yeah.
And tends to get longer and longer, in terms of how long it disrupts production. And as a result, I had moved a lot of stuff forward this year. We had signed off on a lot of products substantially earlier than normal. Get our samples done, get our photo shoot samples done, sign off on things, and started some of our key product lines to build stock before Chinese New Year.
Yeah.
And ship before Chinese New Year. And as a result, what happened is basically there was Chinese New Year, and that went straight into COVID, which shut down Asia and anyone's ability to go there, shut down the factories. And so a lot of guys hadn't even finished their development yet, hadn't really signed up on product yet. and had no production and had no stock, and we did. Our photo shoot was really early. We shot through the whole beginning part of COVID. We were already shipping commercial stuff, so in the kiteboarding side of things, we were pretty good in that respect because we were done with everything. It didn't affect us. Where a lot of our competitors within the industry, you had to push things way back and are still, especially the bigger guys like Boards and More, they're not even launching a lot of their stuff until later in the year because of stock issues, etc.
It's been a huge.
In that sense, we were good. We still thought, of course, business is going to be kind of dead, but at least we've got a product.
Yeah.
But then what seemed to happen is people were not traveling, people were home, and at least in America, the crazy government giving everybody money, there were a lot of people making more money sitting at home than they would normally do working, and so they were buying things, and we did a lot of direct-to-consumer business, but some of our key dealers in certain places were also doing a lot of business. So we were, in fact, way up, are way up over last year domestically, but by exponential amounts because people were home, especially in the realm of like SUP, foiling, windsurfing, kiting up a bit, but not as up as those other sports. A lot of people where SUP has gone down and down and down for several years, it shot back up to basically as good as it ever was for us domestically.
It's quite incredible, isn't it?
Side, when COVID hit, and we had our industry calls with the GKA and stuff, and everybody trying to figure out what they're doing with their team, and it was pretty doomsday. A lot of brands, sequestering their athletes and laying their people off and putting them onto the government programs. And I was like, fuck, we don't know where this is going to go. And I decided we're going to keep everybody on. So I didn't lay off any employees. Everyone, got full salary whether they were able to work or not. We've kept all of our team riders on at full salary, crossing our fingers that they could just, find ways to promote. Yeah. And hope that in the end people, are stoked with that. And it worked out. We made it through just fine. Europe was obviously dead for quite a while as everyone was completely locked up at home. Yeah. But once it did open up, the not being able to travel had people home, I think, spending money that, they might have spent on travel or other things. And, I think it gave a lot of people time on the internet to contemplate new gear, etc. Yeah. Spending more time watching videos and thinking about what they'd want to get rather than working all day. And so Europe came back quite strong as well. And so in the whole scope of how horrible it's been for everybody, from a business standpoint, it really has not been bad at all. In fact, we're going to be well ahead of pre-COVID times. So it's amazing, isn't it? All good from that.
Yes, I mean, it's great for the industry, really, I think, because we had a lot of conversations with all of our partners sort of at the end of March because we were launching a magazine, and it was, some of the conversations were just like, we're 95% down on sales and no one knows where it's going to go. And it was just like, wow, what's going to happen? And then it just seems like you're exactly right. All these people with cash in their pockets, nothing to do. They can't go anywhere. The bars are closed. The restaurants are closed, but they can go to the beach. And it just seems to have gone crazy. Like the amount of people hitting the water in Europe now is bonkers. And it's even for the travel companies a little bit, people like the Lo Stagnone place in Italy, it's super busy, but it's just local Italians going there because you can go on holiday in your own country. You can't really travel between the countries at the moment. And so, even for the local businesses that were like, I'm a travel business, no one's going to travel to my spot. But actually what's happened is, people who live in the country are travelling to those spots. And it's just been an amazing turnaround. I think it was kind of 2 months of scariness over here. And then as soon as they opened the floodgates, it just went bonkers, which is fantastic for the industry.
Yeah, it's good for people to stay at home and get on the water.
Yeah.
I'm always telling people that. So it's good.
Yeah, perhaps it focused a few people's minds, people who've got kit in the garage and haven't used it in a while, but they've become focused on other things. And then suddenly when you tell a human being they can't do something, it kind of makes them want to do it even more.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, it dusts off the old gear, and then they realize, wow, I need a new sail, or man, I could use a new harness, or whatever it is. So it's good.
How's it been on Maui itself? Were you guys banned from hitting the water? Because obviously it's a pretty big water focused island. Did they ever sort of stop you from going to the beaches or anything, or were you allowed to kite and surf the whole time?
No, I mean we were allowed the entire time to do everything. There was a period of time where they closed the beach parks, but only access to the beach parks. The lifeguards were still there, and you could still go surf, kite, windsurf, whatever. You just couldn't park in the parking lot. So you had to park across the street and walk over. That was the worst that they got. But in terms of restricting access, no, it's been better than ever because it's been uncrowded to a degree. Very crowded with locals because no one at school and no one working.
Yeah, so everyone's out.
Yeah, so surf spots and stuff were really crowded, but in terms of wind, kite, wing, foil, no, it's been really good. It's been strange having no tourists here for this long. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of rent-a-cars parked everywhere, all around the entire airport area here is just like thousands of 30 rent-a-cars parked bumper to bumper to bumper to bumper to bumper. And the roads are very uncrowded as a result, because there's so many tourists on the road here normally.
Yeah.
But in terms of being able to get into the water and ride and do development and photo shoots and everything, it's been incredible. So
it's amazing.
Through the beginning of COVID, we couldn't really post because people were freaking out. I posted a session at La Perouse and start getting all this hate mail. Oh, you're taking hospital beds from people.
Yeah.
I can't eat ice cream. You better not eat ice cream either. And it's not really. So out of respect, we kind of stopped posting anything on the water because we understood what people were going through in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
But here, nobody had. On Maui, we had like 1 case, 2 cases, no one in the hospital, and it's only actually in the last couple of weeks now kind of gotten worse. Where there's like 100 cases on the water where there were like 17.
Yeah.
We still have a 2-week quarantine. If you leave or come to the islands, when you come back, you're stuck at home or your hotel room and you can't leave for 2 weeks. So there's not a lot of travel and not a lot of way for the virus to get entrenched into the islands.
I was going to say, because that's the beauty of being an island, right? You can kind of close down your borders, being a small island, and make sure people quarantine, and you can kind of manage it a lot better than you could if you were on the mainland.
Yeah, people can't just drive in. When you get here, we know when you got here and how you got here. They've been quite strict at monitoring people, and so the result of the economy is completely fucked.
Yeah.
But we don't have much of it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which is better.
Yeah.
But it is
difficult.
It is what it is.
I guess there must be, like you say, with the all the rental cars, there must be so many hotel rooms that are empty and just so many restaurants that no one's going to, and the whole thing's just kind of, not getting any revenue in at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's catastrophic. But that's Democrats. That's politics. It's the end result of making a giant political mess is way more important than anything else, even if it means basically killing the economy in the process. I think the virus is bad, but the cure is much, much worse.
Yeah, it does seem like everyone's going to be.
In terms of the way it's been handled.
Yeah.
Like here, where tourism is how we pay our bills in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And there's just, hotels are closed, the rent-a-car companies are closed, restaurants are closed, businesses are closed, most of the places in Paia are still boarded up, the malls are closed, and those are people that have no means to make any money at all.
Yeah.
And so the pain and the real impact of it is going to be kicked downstream a bit, where, for the first few months, we're getting some government subsidy and so on and so forth, but it doesn't last forever. Government doesn't have any source of revenue other than taxation. And when no one's earning any money, there's no taxes either.
Yeah.
And so, like the state of Hawaii that wants to spend itself into a fix can't, and you can only tax the few people that are earning money so much to pay for everybody else that isn't earning money before the whole system kind of implodes. And that's kind of where we're heading right now, unfortunately, is, printing money and passing it out is not real economics.
Can't go on forever. We're kind of at that situation in Europe now. Well, in the UK, they did this really good furlough scheme where if you had a job and your company couldn't afford to pay you, then the government just paid 80% of your wages. You sat at home, and people were better off because they're not having to drive to work. They're not having to buy food when they're out of work, and they're sitting at home doing nothing for 80%. So they're kite surfing and mountain biking and enjoying themselves. And that's just started to end now. So, of course, there's been no redundancies here. So I know in the US there was a lot of, jobs lost and stuff. We haven't had that in the UK, but as companies are asked to start paying the wages for these staff, but there's no business because the economy's in the toilet, then that's when the redundancies come. So I think we're in an interesting kind of fork, as you like, where it's been all gravy, free money flying around for a while, but that's sort of stopping now. And how that's going to affect us over here, I don't know. But hopefully, not too much so in terms of the industry and kite surfing and water sports that can ride the wave. And I think as long as people can go to the beach and they have access to the beach, then there's going to be that desire to want gear and to get out there and kite.
Yeah, we'll see. It's sort of uncharted territory. So
yeah, it's definitely that.
The economic impact of it will be far more reaching and last longer than the initial impact. You just need to be smart and conservative and flexible, and that's what we are. We don't have giant aspirations for conquering the universe by selling more gear than the other guy. We'll make what there's demand for, and like you say, there's always going to be people wanting to get out there.
Yeah. So moving away from, the political COVID status quo, which is obviously what everyone's talking about, but this year is your 25-year anniversary as a company, which is a hell of a landmark. And I remember when, you first kind of had the Naish boards with Mistral back in the day. And obviously, it's been quite an incredible 25 years where you've picked some amazing sports that have become huge, kite surfing, stand-up paddling and things like that, and now windsurfing, which just seems to be exploding at a rate I could never have believed over here in Europe. What's your proudest moment over the last 25 years, do you think, in terms of running the business?
Well, the S25 designation is actually more of an internal thing. Because obviously we've been around a lot longer than that.
Yeah, with the custom boards and things like that.
Yeah, 1979. Nalu Kai, the company that I formed to start Naish Sales Hawaii when we started doing sales, that's now 25 years old. So it was more like the Maui operation. Yeah. As we're structured is 25 years. The brand itself and making and selling stuff obviously much longer.
It's kind of the big production, I guess, isn't it? In terms of, that was when you first sort of went full bore, with large scale production and things. Yeah, beyond custom stuff. Yeah. Probably the fact that we made it this long is what I'm most proud of. I don't know what I'm doing. We've had a lot of fun, learned a lot, we've made some cool stuff over the years, like you said, for different sports, been in the right place at the right time, and have been very lucky many times over, whether it be with windsurfing or kite surfing or stand-up or foiling or now winging, and, kind of at the leading edge of a lot of fun stuff that not only do I enjoy riding it, but it's been neat being part of things that have enriched a lot of other lives as well. Yeah. And that we haven't ever tripped over our own feet so badly that we didn't make it back up. So, and I'm proud of that we've made it this far, being independent,
obviously undercapitalized, cash based, never asked for money, never borrowed money, never sold out. So it's been an interesting journey, not always pleasant.
Yeah.
But rewarding, and right when you think things are going to get a little stale, something new comes along. So there's always challenges. And still loving getting on the water, playing with all the stuff we make. So that's the main thing.
Well, there's been some pretty big challenges over the years. 2008 financial crash. What we're going through now. So I think that resilience as a business is, a testament to the team and to yourself and to the way you're running things. And like you say, by not having that investor, it means that when the chips are a bit down, it's not like you've got someone knocking on your door asking for all the money back. It's buck stops with you, I guess. So you've got that control.
Yeah, it gives us a bit of freedom to kind of play things as we want.
How do you feel the company's changed over the years? Is it a very different beast now to what it was, say, 20 years ago? Or, have you always kind of had similar numbers of people working for you, and has it kind of stayed fairly constant? Or has it been changing quite a bit?
We've slowly grown. We're still, a lot smaller than what most people would imagine when they think of the brand. I think our footprint is much bigger than the reality of our structure.
Yeah.
But we've had to grow as our sports have grown. When it was just windsurfing sales, it was pretty simple.
Yeah.
When it was just windsurfing sales and kites, it was still pretty simple. But we run through our entire product line now, just logistically, between everything for windsurfing and everything for kiteboarding, foiling and SUP.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Just all the various things that we do. We may not sell many of those things, but the amount of work to have them and to make the tech sheets and to put it into production and to manage the stock. So we've grown in terms of admin, and we've grown in terms of engineers, especially the art department. There's a lot of turnover there, and it has grown because we still do all our own in-house graphics, marketing, advertising, web, etc., where a lot of other people farm that stuff out to contractors.
Yeah.
But we're still pretty small, still pretty tight knit, and a lot of our key people have been with us for a long time. The finance side, bookkeeping side, R&D as well. Obviously, we've had turnover in the kite side, but in others, it's been same people for a long time. So it's a good mix of new blood and old guard that I'm still there, obviously, as kind of the spine that runs through the whole thing and keeps it on track for where I want to see it go.
Yeah. And you've had quite a few changes to the Naish team, certainly on the kite side of things recently. Are you kind of happy with where it is now? It feels like you've got a very young team, but you've got guys like Stig, who's amazing, by the way. We work with him quite a bit, and he's a really nice lad, and he's super keen. And then, Helena and Christoph and people like that coming on board. Has that been quite tough to sort of manage, or has it just kind of happened naturally, or is it something that you've been sort of pushing for a bit of change in a younger team to bring a bit of fresh blood to the operation?
Yeah, I don't. At least I try not to have direct management over the team. I still look at myself as an athlete, and I don't like to talk to the riders about money and stuff. So behind the scenes, obviously I am. But I have my team manager guys and whatnot deal directly with the team.
Yeah.
But I've been pushing to get some changing in the guard for a while, to keep things fresh. You can tend to get stale in a sport that evolves and changes as fast as something like kiteboarding. There's a lot of people kiting these days that didn't kite 5 years ago, didn't kite 10 years ago. They don't know the history of Naish, Cabrina, Duotone, F1, Air, whatever the fuck brand it is. They got into the sport and all these brands are there. What's the difference? Whoever the local hotshot at the beach is, or whoever is in the local shop pushing whichever brand, that's what you're going to polarize to. And you need to keep things fresh, and I felt for a while we had kind of stagnated a little bit. We're really good guys, but I'm not a spring chicken, and I just felt, and so did Des, who handles most of the direct contact with the team guys now, together with Scott Trudon. Thought, let's go ahead and try and get some more young, fresh, pushing guys. And it happened, fortunately, at the same time that our R&D was kind of getting some fresh blood as well. And so the result is, it's not like our designer is 20 years old. My head engineer, Brian Dennis, is, I don't know how old he is, but he's late 40s.
Yeah.
And Alex King is an incredible engineer. He's in his mid-20s. So he's young. And then with all these young team riders that are just frothing, that you give them an opportunity and they're stoked and they take the ball and run with it. They don't want to. When you've been doing something a long time and you've been really successful at it, you're not as hungry to get in your car and drive through another country and go do a demo, or go test something, or you just don't have that stoke that, there's wind, the trees are moving, I'm heading to the beach. You still love to ride, but there's not the drug in your veins that makes you want to breathe and dream nothing but kiting.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to have at least a good percentage of your team guys in that stage of the sport where they are pushing the limits, pushing themselves, and their love and passion for it is contagious.
Yeah, they're totally addicted, and that's all they want to do is kite.
And good, and good people that still represent the brand and the sport well, that are outgoing and talk to people, that are smiling, and not just down taking videos of themselves and then leaving.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. This day and age can breed different kinds of athletes, and it's a difficult sort of world to navigate through right now with the whole self-promotion thing with social media. You can get completely, overwhelmed with that, and it becomes your entire universe. What's my next post? And you're completely disconnected with everything except your online presence. And we don't want that either. We want guys that are out there sharing the passion for the sport, and hopefully in the process stoking people onto the Naish gear. And that's happening right now. The energy that we have within the brand right now, not just in kiting, but overall, is refreshing. Not that we had a bad team before. We've had really good guys all along. My R&D's been great. I'm not by any means putting down anything that we've had historically. But right now we just seem to be in a really good position in terms of fresh energy and stoke, and kind of that renewed passion that comes with some fresh blood.
Yeah, which is good. How about for yourself? What do you decide to do when you go down the beach these days? Obviously, you are big into the windsurfer, but I've seen a few windsurfing videos crop up on your social media. So are you kind of getting back into that, or are you just looking at the beach and saying, right, it's these kind of conditions, that's what I'm going to do?
Yeah, it's really based on the conditions. I mean, a lot of it is based on what we're testing, developing at the moment, because we have different, timelines for different things within the arsenal of products that we produce.
Yep.
And so these days there's less just riding for fun and a little more always kind of testing something, which is also fun. But, behind the fun, I've got this foremast or this back wing or this boom or this sail or a different fin or something that I'm trying out. And then, trying to balance out the promotional side of it as well, because it seems that if people within any one of the sports see me personally waning in participation, it still has an effect on the business, at least the image of the business. So I try not to take too much of a visual break from any one sport.
Yeah.
It's just important for the brand, and then for Robby Naish, quote unquote, as well. Trying to juggle and balance the different sports. I mean, right now I'm doing an awful lot of wing foiling because it's new, it's exciting, it's developing incredibly fast, and the stuff that I'm able to do on that right now compared to what I was able to do just a short time ago, it's pretty amazing. and obviously there's business potential there as well that is kind of fun.
Yeah.
But there's always something new, right? So we're always having fun, depending on if we have wind or waves or onshore or offshore or big or small. There's so much between the different sports that I enjoy. There's not enough time in the day. And I kind of, there's times a year where I'm at Hokipa a lot windsurfing because the conditions are good. And then there's other times a year, like I haven't been out there in several months because it's just been crap, right? So I've been slalom sailing.
Yeah.
And I've been kiting flat water because doing a lot of kite testing recently. And so, a lot of quick kite sessions, just testing this kite against that kite and this board against that board because I'm doing the new, trying to get as much feedback from this year's S25 stuff because I'm obviously already well into S26.
Yeah. Yeah, in terms of testing, you're always ahead, aren't you?
So, yeah, a lot of time on the water personally doing everything.
Where do you feel that windsurfing fits in with kiting and windsurfing? Is it kind of there to complement it, do you think? Or is it going to take a lot of riders out of one sport and into the new sport? How do you kind of see it panning out?
I look at it the same way I did kiting and windsurfing and SUP to kiting and windsurfing. They all complement each other. To me, they're all surfing in different ways. And for the people that have the means, they're going to add windsurfing to the list of things that they do. For people that don't, I think it's a very cool addition because, like, if you kite, if you look at right now, Maui is a really good example because obviously, I started doing it here and promoting it early on. So the Maui windsurfing market is the most developed and mature of any market in the world. I've been out there for, a couple of years already.
Yeah.
I used to be the only guy in harbor. I'd go to Kahului Harbor to develop my stuff and test where nobody could see me, right? And then I'd go to Kanaa and people go, wow, that's kind of cool, and look at it funny. You go down there now, Kahului Harbor will have 20 to 40 beginners every day.
Wow.
So it went from being my secret spot to being the beginner wing spot.
Wow.
You go to Kanaa right now with no tourists, no COVID, just locals. I used to be the only wing surfer out there, me, Mickey Schweiger, a couple of other people. Now, if you go down there at noon, there will be 10, 15 kiters.
Yeah.
20 kiters maybe. 5 to 10 windsurfers. And 15 to 30 windsurfers.
Wow.
And there are times when you go out there and it's all windsurfers. And a lot of them are coming in not from wind sports. They're surfers, they're kids, a lot of kids. My daughter who's 13 and all her friends are doing it.
Yeah, it seems super popular with the groms and stuff. I guess it doesn't have that danger factor of a kite, right?
So the windsurfers are crossing over, a lot of them, a lot of surfers, people that historically weren't into wind sport. The kiters are kind of the last guys to cross over because if you're already kiting in a place where you've got the conditions and you've got the space, you're already out there. Kiting's pretty damn rad.
Yeah.
Right? Windsurfing's a little mowing the lawn compared to that, but there are kiters as well that are getting into it and loving it. Like if you look at Greg Drexler, right? Greg Drexler, who used to work for me, started Cloud Kites. I don't think he's kited in 6 months. And I talked to him a couple of days ago, and he told me that.
Wow.
He just said, thank you so much for giving us this sport. I'm having so much fun, loving it so much. I don't think I've kited in 6 months. But he's just winging. And a lot of guys are doing that, getting into it. And it's kiting simplified to a certain degree. You're never going to get the huge air. You're not going to have certain feelings that you get from kiting, that whole, like a kid.
Yeah.
Attaching yourself to a kite and flying into the air. But there's beauty in the simplicity of winging. And there is no more lawn ever. If you're just a back and forth guy, this is so compelling, and you can do it in any wind. I mean, really light wind. It's simple. There's for places that have access issues, crappy gusty wind where kiting's not great. This is better.
Yeah.
If you want a foil, I think this is the best foiling there is. I love windsurf foiling. I like kite foiling. Don't love it. I love wing foiling. Like from a racing standpoint, like for the Olympics, windsurf foiling and kite foiling, they're super cool. When I see kite foil races, that's insane. I mean, that really gets me. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
If I lived in a light place, I would be doing that because it's absolutely as high performance as you can get. But from a level playing field, getting out there and loving racing, I think winging in the future is going to be huge.
Yeah.
Really huge. So they go hand in hand. I mean, again, you're going to have guys like me that still do everything. You're going to have people that get into winging and seem to stop doing everything else. All they want to do is wing, and I see that here. So it's a compliment, and for others, it's going to be everything. So it really depends. Kind of like kite. A lot of people stopped windsurfing altogether, got into kiting. Other people still like to kind of do different things. Some people are, no, I'm going to windsurf until I die. That's it. I don't need anything else.
Yeah, never going to change.
But from seeing what's happening here with 80-year-olds doing it and 30-year-olds doing it and 10-year-olds doing it, I think is very, very big.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly seems to be taking off here in a way that I couldn't really predict before. I've tried it. Obviously, I tried it. Actually, the first time I tried it was with you guys, which must have been 2 years ago in Tarifa. And it was awesome fun, and I got it and I really enjoyed it. And I thought, wow, this is really good fun. But then I didn't have the opportunity to try it again. Tried it again in Madagascar with the F1 guys, and the conditions were just, it was 45 knots and they had this tiny board and wasn't any good for me to get up on. And then since then I've been back doing it, and it is, like you say, it's a really fun way to kind of mow the lawn, and it opens up a lot of different conditions and spots as well. We've got an estuary near us where you can kite, but it's really gusty and really hard, whereas with the wing you don't notice those gusts so much because you can sheet it out and sheet it in. You've got that control. It's kind of like the control of a windsurfer in gusty conditions, but you've got a kite in your hands. I guess that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of combines the feeling of both. But the main thing is the very fast learning curve. You can learn it so quickly that I think that's appealing to people.
Yeah.
It's not going to be any huge wave sport. Sure, there's going to be guys that go do it in the waves, and you can jump. It's never going to be like king of the air. Yeah. But in terms of sailing, I mean, I look at it as like it's like windsurfing in the early days.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool way to just go flying across the water in normal, accessible conditions. Yeah,
just something fun to do and another tool to have in your arsenal, I guess, of ways to enjoy the ocean.
Yeah.
Last question for you, Robby, because I know you've got to get on and you've got a meeting at 10, but you've been, kind of like the front of the Naish brand for so long now, and you've had to excel at all these different sports, from windsurfing to kite surfing, SUP, and now wingsurfing. Do you ever get tired of being, Robby Naish and having to be that persona on the beach and when you're meeting people, or, is it still just as much fun for you as it was in those early days?
Yeah, I think it's every bit as much fun now as it ever was. I get tired of the business side. I get tired of having that underlying kind of stress.
Yeah.
I never get tired of riding and going to the beach and sharing that stoke with people. That's why I started doing it in the first place.
Yeah.
And I'd like to, at some stage, hopefully sooner than later, before I get too old, get back to where I'm not really stressed on the business side at all.
Yeah.
Like I used to be able to just not really give a shit. I'm old enough now where I kind of have to give a shit.
Yeah.
But to me, it's about riding. I love it. I love taking my freaking 10.8 Nalu single fin stand-up paddleboarding, going to the south side and riding waist-high waves. That's still so much fun to me. I love just being out in the water on a board, no matter what kind of board it is, and sharing that stoke with people. And I think that I'm pretty good at. I don't know if I'm really very good at anything else. I'm not a great businessman. I don't have any other great skill set. I'm socially not that gifted. I'm kind of a loner, but I love to share the stoke of surfing with people in its various nuances, whether it's kiting or windsurfing or foiling or whatever. I'm good at that, and I still love it.
I guess that's awesome that you've managed to create such an astounding career around it, really, which you have, and that's a testament, I guess, to your passion and your skills and your ability with all of these sports to actually, inspire so many people to get involved and to really become passionate about it like you are.
Yeah, sharing the stoke. That's what it's about. I mean, that's probably why I'm still doing it. That's still the reason I'm doing it. I never changed. It's not. I was never doing it to be the best. I never had some goal to achieve to win some title. I wasn't out to make $1 million and then I'm going to go become a motorcycle racer or a golfer or really wanted a plumbing business someday. This is what I do, and there's never been a plan. It's just been hopefully continuing down that path of loving what I do and being able to keep doing it. So far, my body's allowed me to keep doing it. A couple bumps in the road, but injuries heal and you get back to your new 100%, and hopefully I'll be able to keep doing it for a while.
Awesome. Robby, that's been fantastic. I think I've got plenty there to come up with a good article for this issue. So thank you so much for giving me your time. I know it's very precious and I know how busy you are, so I really appreciate that.
No, you're very welcome. I mean, if you want just something specifically, like some people wonder if I'm just like in the background counting money or if I'm really like involved. And I'm really involved. Like I test every kite, I test every bar. And most people don't know that, like, I actually design all the directionals. I don't do the twin tips because that would be a farce because I don't ride twin tips. But, if you go through our line of directionals, where the global, the gecko, the carbon, the strapless monitor, the skater, I do all of them. And so it's kind of cool for people to know that. Actually. Yeah, I mean,
I think you're one of the few people in the industry who runs a brand who does that, and I think that's one of the reasons why I have quite a lot of respect for you. I guess Raphael Sal over at F1 would be another one, but then you've got a lot of brands where the top guys aren't really doing that, and they're more of a businessman with shareholders and things rather than actually just getting involved and getting their hands dirty. And I think it's that passion and the stoke for riding new gear and trying different things and testing the equipment and wanting to sell something that you believe in to your customers that separates you guys and people like Raphael from some of the other brands out there.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, Ralph has been there as well since the beginning, still on the water, which is important. Yeah,
I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's like if you look at the people who spend large amounts of time on the water that are running the brands, then they've generally got some pretty solid products behind them because you want to ride something that's really good, so you're going to be working on it, making sure the prototypes are good and making sure that everything's as you'd want it to be when you sell it to someone, rather than leaving that to someone else to do and not really worrying about it too much and just making sure that the money's coming in on the business end. And yeah, I think that's good. I'm really looking forward to testing some of the new gear. I'm going to, after this call, get in touch with Jenica and see what we can arrange to get on test over here in the UK, because it's we're not going to be travelling anywhere anytime soon, are we? That's the big shame.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we'll have to do some stuff over there.
Makes it tough.
Well, have a good day, or actually, sorry, have a good night.
Yeah, that's great, Robert. It's brilliant. Well, we just... Literally just got off the water. So we were kiting. I've just moved to Wales in the southwest of England. Mary and I got a place here and we've just been working on it. We just got in when lockdown happened. So first week of lockdown, we somehow managed to move house and then been dealing with this new place. And it's like 20 minutes to one of the best surf beaches in the UK. So we were literally down there. It was like double overhead, huge waves, super gnarly conditions. And I was like, oh, I've got to get off the water because I've got this call with Robby and I need to be at home and I need to get some questions sorted and get it done. But I thought if ever there's a man that wouldn't mind if I was 5 minutes late for an interview because I've been on the water, it would be yourself. But fortunately...
double high surf, all right.
Yeah, it was good. But fortunately the traffic was great, so we got back fine. So I was there on time. So I'm pleased to make that happen. But yeah, thanks ever so much for your time, Robby. And I look forward to
you're welcome.
having a beer somewhere with you soon and catching up again, I'm sure. All right?
There you go. You got my mobile number, so if you ever need anything or just text me.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Robby. I'll speak soon. Cheers, buddy. Bye.
Awesome. Bye.
There we have it, a surprise episode 14. I hadn't planned on putting one of those out this week. I've been incredibly busy with the magazine, but as I said, it was just too good an opportunity to miss. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please remember to share these with people. The more people that listen to them, the more inspired I am to record more episodes. It's a little bit tricky at the moment. Obviously, we can't travel. I have got a couple of episodes in the bank that I'll be looking at and getting out over the next few weeks. So keep your ears peeled and there should be some new content coming up for you soon. Until the next time, you've been listening to me, Roo Chater, and the Intriguing Beings podcast.